I want to talk about automation because you say that you want these systems to talk to each other. What can that do for an attorney, like a solo practitioner or a small practice? What are some of the biggest benefits that lawyers can see from having these things talk to each other, and what does that automation really look like from start to finish?
Yeah. So I'll give you a little anecdote. I was talking to the state planning attorney. We actually did a case study on her few like 2 months ago. She went from being at a mid-sized firm where she had a ton of support, associates, word processing team, everything that you could want, to hanging her own shingle and starting her own firm. And she found that through the use of technology and through the use of systems that talk to each other and where you can do everything in one and you don't have to do multiple data entry, she was able to really replicate a lot of the support that she had at the mid-sized firm, but now running her own firm and also wanting to have a life outside of that, but beyond being inside of systems. So what that practically looks like is everything from the first entry point and touch point that you have with your customer. So whether that is having a conversation with them, one of the things we see oftentimes, you're explaining the same exact thing to a client, to different clients over and over again. For example, you might be explaining to every single client that this is the difference between an uncontested divorce and a contested divorce, as an example. So why not create a video of that instead of repeating that every single time and putting that in front of your client through the client intake process so that they watch, your 1 minute video, then they go to the next step and then they answer client intake questions. Because after that initial conversation, you want them to give you all their information. So then they enter all their information in the client intake system. Then that might go over to wherever you're going to use that information next. So maybe you're reviewing that information and wanting to double check it and change things. Then going into documents, typically the next stage of the process, reviewing those documents, potentially pushing those documents or that information into your practice management system or into Google Docs or Google Files or Dropbox or whatever that might be. You want all of this to be happening automatically, as opposed to you having to push a button for every single one of those stages. And then finally, payment. So being able to put payment inside of those methods, and especially if you have a practice area that is maybe a little bit more rules based, or you have stages of the case, you don't necessarily need an entire billing system that is outside of those phases of the case, especially if you're going to try to productize on build a legal product. So that entire process becomes something that you are involved, providing your knowledge exactly when you need to be. And in all other times, you have systems that are operating and running for you, just like your non-billable staff was able to do at a larger firm.